But his story is just heartbreaking, blows my mind, and he's here to be an inspiration to young folk.
Where I just knew I was better than this man everywhere. I said that.
Joe Pyfer!
USA, baby!
Welcome to UFC Unfiltered.
Please tell me that's on video. I've never been happier.
I'm made for a fucking podcast. We're dangerous. Listen to me, we're at it. Welcome to UFC Unfiltered. Hey guys, Phoenix Carnevale, how are you? First of all, how are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy to be with you, Matt.
My co-host, we're gonna catch up today. And Coach Plinio Cruz, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. How you guys doing, man?
And I know I seem so unprofessional. Let's tell everybody behind the scenes. I literally just jumped on board. Everybody was here but me. I feel like I'm late. I am late by 2 minutes, right?
You're not
That's
late.
fine. It's America.
I'm sorry, Coach. Coach, but you can appreciate this. I was coming from my school. I was teaching good people to become dangerous. Isn't that worth it?
Don't worry, Matt. You're on Brazilian time. You're good.
I am on Brazilian time. Yes. Now, before we get into, any of your pupils, champions, non-champions, I want to know about you. Now, Coach Cruz, you were a fighter yourself before you became a coach?
Yes, I was.
Tell me about that. And I'm assuming Brazil. You grew up.
Here too. So I grew up. I was born and raised in São Paulo, Brazil.
Okay.
I'm a third-degree black belt in BJJ under George Macaco Patino.
Shit.
Yes,
Wow.
and I'm a second-degree black belt in judo under Polish coach Mariusz Link, the guy who started jiu-jitsu in Poland too. And I've been doing striking for like 25 years because we were a shoot the box affiliation in Brazil too. So that's where I learned the beginning of my striking.
Now, people might just know your jiu-jitsu instructor. They call him, I know him as Macaco because I'm an old school guy. Macaco, what does that mean? What does Macaco mean?
Monkey in Portuguese.
He's monkey. But that was his fighting nickname, correct?
Yes.
And it's what is it? It's Jorge Patino. What is it? His last name?
Patino, yes.
Yeah.
Jorge Patino.
Now listen, you might be you're younger than me, my friend. I'm sure.
Yes.
But you're like, yes, no shit, coach. No, but listen, but when I was coming up, there was a famous rivalry between Macaco and Ryan Gracie, and they would street fight. They'd fight anytime they seen each other. Did you know about that?
Oh, I grew up under the atmosphere actually through the whole thing. You know what I mean? Me growing up on the team because I used to train there since I was very little. So they put in our minds, you can lose to anybody, cannot lose to a Gracie. It was fun because the rivalry actually brought the sport level of a sport up in São Paulo. But yeah, I did grow up into that. And funny thing, throughout my late years of my career, I actually was coached by Dana Gracie. So across the river, yeah.
Oh, Daniel's a very good friend of mine. Oh, what a small world. Oh, that's great. So when you grew up in Brazil, is it one of those not typical stories, but it is pretty typical in martial arts? You get involved with it because you got messed with, bullied, or is it because of other reasons you got into martial arts?
Actually, you know what I mean? I grew up on a very manly environment. Me and my cousins, they used to do capoeira, watch Van Damme movies. That manly stuff. Van Damme, Schwarzenegger. So I moved to this neighborhood in São Paulo when I started judo when I was 3 because everybody do judo when they're little in Brazil. Then I did for a few years. I stopped. Then throughout my teens, I moved to this neighborhood that had a gym 2 blocks from my house. I went to check it out and I stayed there. It was a affiliation from Macaco, and then I've been never stopped after that.
He's like us, Matt. He's really into like all the martial arts movies and films. You know what I mean? Like you go train with Coach Cruz, and there's like some type of 80s movie music in the background every once in a while. You know what I mean? So he's nerdy like us.
Oh, I love that. Who was your favorite out of those 80s type movies? Van Damme, Seagal, And
I'll say Van Damme at first because, Kickboxer and Bloodsport are legendary movies. And then after that, Bruce Lee and everybody else, right? But Van Damme for sure.
now, do they say never meet your heroes? Did you ever meet?
Not
Van
yet.
Damme?
Maybe one day. Not yet. Maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
Have to.
Oh man, listen, I know a guy that was in an '80s movie, and I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to embarrass him. But boy, he holds on to that '80s movie. And I seen him at a Comic-Con recently, and he's over there, and I don't know, man, he don't resemble that dude no more. And it's like, I don't know. Van Damme's a little different because he had a really big career. But it's weird with those one-hit wonder guys when they have that thing and you see him at those Comic-Cons. I love those Comic-Cons. That's a whole other level of being a geek, though, Coach.
Right. Right.
So go ahead, Phoenix. Go ahead. Just sprinkle in some questions to Coach here.
Well, I mean, Coach, your last fight was in 2017. When did you know, like, okay, I'm going to stop fighting now and I'm going to transition into being in people's corners?
Actually, my last fight in America was 2017, 2019. I did my last fight before pandemic. But when I fought there, I was already coaching, like helping with Alex Campbell on Glory, because even though BJJ was where I basically started, but since I was trained on a gym for strikers, we were all like basically a Shooter Box Academy striking school in São Paulo. So then from there, I also trained boxing too, because when I reached the purple belt level of jiu-jitsu, I already knew that I wanted to fight MMA because we had so many killers at the gym. So I started preparing my striking. But I met Alex around 2016, and then 2018, I was in his first corner at Glory, and then I cornered him throughout his Glory career. So was kind of like doing both at the same time. Then after pandemic came and this guy started blowing up out of proportion, famous. So I had to focus more on the coaching aspects.
Was that hard for you to let it go, to like let the fighting part of it go?
Yes, but I don't say that I'm fully retired. I said I'm taking some time. I'm maybe doing some boxing next year or something like that. I'm 37, gotta stay. Maybe heavyweight, gotta steal a little more juice, to squeeze. I'm just for now taking a break. It's like the older brother gotta take care of the younger brothers,
Yeah,
that's
for
the
sure.
feeling. That's a feeling. So it's a really deep camp. It's got you, it's got Glover Teixeira. So like, there's a lot of people working with Alex. Who maneuvers what? How do you kind of mix and match who does what and who tells them what?
Well, Glover is the big papa there. You know what I mean? Can't have nobody more experienced than him. Throughout Glories was me, Alex. More doing the whole thing. But it's basically Glover, and then I'm there. We basically have a team that we not even like to label who does who. We don't have egos. We just say that we're a big brotherhood that one focus on the other whenever each other have a fight coming up. But Glover's a big papa there.
Listen, Water seeks its own level. Any friend of Glover, has got to be a good person. Glover is one of the most warmest dudes. Even when he had the title, he'd be like at a Cage Fury or somewhere in the locker room with his cap on. It's like, yo, there's the heavyweight champ just chilling. Like, he's such a nice, and he's always giving hugs. He's such a lovable guy. What a great guy to have as like a leader.
Glover's the ultimate guy next door.
That's so great. He's such a great guy. So you live in Connecticut now?
I actually know. I based in Newark because my gym is in Harrison, next to Newark, in Jersey. Then during the pandemic, I bought a cabin in the Poconos. I stay kind of back and forth. And then certain days of the week, 2-3 days, I go to Glover's gym. And some days they come to my gym. Or, for example, we train in the nature sometimes. Like Wednesday, they came to my cabin in the Poconos. We train by a waterfall. So we kind of like on that loop around the tri-states.
Man, see that Poconos? Don't sleep on the Poconos. The Poconos is nice. When I like to disappear with the wifey to get away from the kids, we'll go up to that Poconos. It's beautiful, man. Oh, it's beautiful, right?
Here's a fact
Absolutely.
that you might not know, but Plinio Cruz is actually also my coach.
No, I did not know that. I like to find things out on the spot, Shoot. Phoenix, I didn't know that. Is that recent?
It's recent. Once I moved to Jersey, I found him and we totally hit it off because he's a martial arts nerd. And what I love about Plinio is that he likes all martial arts. So he'll steal a little bit from this style or that style and like put it all together. You know what I mean? And knowing that I'm both orthodox and southpaw as a switch, it's really fun working with him. So it's helped me step up my game quite a bit. And I just learned so much. And then him and I will sit on the mat and have super nerdy conversations about UFC events. And I'm just happy he's here to talk to you too.
Oh man, Coach Cruz, that's so great. I told you, water seeks its own level, Phoenix. I'm happy you guys found each other so you could, just further your knowledge. You are a martial arts nerd. You're also a regular nerd. What do you like, Coach Cruz, besides like me and Phoenix, we're into like comic book movies and some geeky stuff like that. What do you like? I can tell nature already. What is some of your hobbies you like besides martial arts?
I like some Comic Con style stuff too. Everybody's gotta be a little bit of a geek in this world, right?
Yes, I
like regular stuff, man. I read some books here and there. I like the nature. I like, America, right? Some guns here and there. But grill can be Brazilian. I like to grill with the friends, some barbecue. So basically stuff, man. I'm a simple guy.
Dude, me too. That's the best way. Keep it simple. You enjoy your training. Stuff you'd probably do, like if you weren't doing anything, you'd be doing this anyway, right? If you had millions of dollars, Coach, you're probably gonna be doing similar stuff, don't you think? Right?
Bro, life stays the same, no matter what.
It's so great.
You already know.
Now, it doesn't mean it's not exciting. I mean, now coming up, Madison Square Garden, you got Alex Pereira, it's quite a challenge. It's interesting. This Jiří Procházka, he's very... they're going to say he's unorthodox. I don't know. Is he, or is it just that the ponytail kind of hypnotizes you? What is that?
No.
Yeah. I don't know. Tell me.
And I respect the guy because, he is actually, like we're speaking right now, he's also a real martial artist. He's into all that samurai, Japanese stuff. I am too, because people don't know São Paulo, different than Rio. The level of training is a little bit different because there's a lot of Japanese there, the biggest Japanese migration in the world. So that's why judo is so strong in São Paulo. And the training is a little more military-ish. Yeah.
That's wild. Oh, that's interesting. Very interesting. I know you always hear about, in Rio with the Gracies and jiu-jitsu. You don't really hear about the judo background coming with Sao Paulo. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
But so he's a real martial artist. I respect that. He lives the samurai code. He's very unorthodox, like we can all see. It's hard to predict a guy like that because he don't fight on a pattern. Right, like you see, this guy have a boxing stance. Guys people say they have a karate stance, but he kind of have his own thing going on. And same with Pereira too, because Alex, a guy, when I was with him through his glory career, what made the difference was he basically got a little bit of his boxing style and then combined with some Dutch kickboxing, kind of created his own thing. Yeah. Like Machida back in the days, takes some time to people start figuring out.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that too, because stylistically, right, these are two, what everybody would say, high-level strikers. That's what you're going to hear typically. But do you think they just keep it on the feet, or do you think like the opportunity to mix it up so they can both showcase those grappling skills? I mean, we still haven't gotten to see what Alex can do on the ground, and I know you're always telling me that he's much better on the ground than people realize.
Well, like this last fight, he was able to show a little more, right, when Blachowicz took him down, in the way that he got off the back and everything. Look, throughout the camps that I've been with Alex for maybe 20 fights or more since Glory Kickboxing days, I think this one being one of the best camps that I've ever seen him perform. So I'm excited about that, and he's ready for the fight, whatever the fight goes. If it's stand-up, if it's ground, if it's whatever, he's ready for that, So I think stylistically, I believe there's going to be a fun, almost like a Chinese movie style fighting of stand-up fighting, but it's going to be a nice thing. But he, at least on his end, he's ready for anything, 100%.
Now, this goes now. I said the producer sent a pic over of Alex Pereira in a jacket and saying how tough he is. There he is. He's still getting used to the cold in Connecticut. There it is. There's a picture of him with a scarf on, and a lot of times when Brazilians come over, whether it be Sao Paulo or Rio, they like they're if not in LA or the West Coast, they're in Florida. You know what I mean? Not a lot go to someplace like New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. How is that? Is it just because Glover was here, or is it like, what?
For all of us. On my side, I moved up here because Macaco moved first, and then I moved with him in 2008. He opened his gym. But, we're from São Paulo. There's no beach in São Paulo, 1 hour away. So, like cities, like São Paulo and New York is the same. Glover came from a place there's also no beach. He's from the country, Sobralia in Brazil. So that's why he kind of picked Connecticut, because more a low-key lifestyle, still having stuff. And then, because and Glover Alex, you know what I mean, knew was before, like with cornering and everything, he decided to move up here.
It looks like a Banana Republic ad. It's all like stylish with the scarf on and shit. He looks good. I have
It's
to
like, no,
ask you
scarf is
this,
a towel. You were a joke because that's a towel. Like,
I gotta ask you this,
expensive
Coach.
scarf.
His sister is also a fighter, has fought in MMA, recently fought in the LFA. When do you anticipate her getting into the UFC?
Well, we are working her a little bit, you know what I mean? Maybe a few more fights. She's into that groove on that transition from, because people don't know, but she was once ranked #1 in the world in kickboxing. She got to fight for the glory title. She fought Tiffany Van Soos, which was basically 10 years undefeated. And she had only 8 pro fights. She already fought for the belt. So she's getting more mature on her own career. But I assume by next year, hopefully, she will be in after a few wins.
I wonder if it's like, well, no, I think there was a few brothers and sister teams in the UFC. I just can't think of them right now, but I know there's at least one.
Yeah, I don't remember. But these two, yeah, since Glory, I used to call them Double Trouble.
Double Trouble. That sounds like a 80s kung fu movie. Right? For those 80s action movies. Well, listen, hey, Coach Cruz, we could talk to you all day. We want to say good luck with that upcoming fight. It's so exciting, November 11th. You know, Madison Square Garden. Does that alone, does that mean anything special to you, Madison Square Garden, with all that fight history there? I mean, shoot.
100%, you know, not only through the history of the venue with other fighters, but the history of the venue with Alex, because he made his UFC debut 2,000 years ago on November at Madison Square Garden. He became the middleweight champion last year at Madison Square Garden. Now he had the chance to become not only light heavyweight champion, but also, people don't take this for granted, but will be the only guy in history that won 2 divisions in 2 major combat sports. So, because I think Overeem back in the days won Dream and K1, but he never won the UFC belt. Alex will be he's already the first guy who crossed championship through both sports, but now he'll be cementing that. But because in kickbox he was middleweight light heavyweight champ, now middleweight light heavyweight champion in MMA, so in the UFC. So that's have definitely a special taste for us. Madison Square Garden have that little mystic behind.
Yeah, it's crazy because it feels like Alex just came onto the scene so quickly. Like, it's probably one of the fastest rises I've seen in MMA.
But see, the thing is, we people say that there's a very Chinese saying that bamboo trees, they stay 8 years on the ground, and then in 1 year they sparkle up 20 feet. He already came to the UFC as a mature fighter. He was actually a double champion in kickboxing. He was the best in the world. So he did his journey outside, but when he jumped in, he was already, it's not that he was fast-tracked. The man was ready. In 3 fights, he became the UFC champ.
Well, listen, he came correct. And you're a big part of that, Coach. So congratulations. Before we let you go, give us a plug to your school. Because shoot, man, if I'm in the neighborhood, I'd like to drop in.
100%, man. My school is called Cruz MMA. It's in Harrison, which is next to Newark, because by the path train is in Jersey. You know, Jersey, we don't pump the gas, we pump the fists, so we got good energy there. Anytime you guys want to drop in, you got Coach Cruz over there and a beautiful staff. You got Pereira in and out too, almost every week there. So, place to go, Cruz MMA. If you guys want to follow up, Cruz MMA official on Instagram.
So great. So great. All right. Hey, listen, thanks. And we want you back on again and hang out with us again. This was fun.
Just let me know, brother.
You got it, Coach. So nice to talk to you guys. Over the Zoom.
Yes, sir.
Bye, Coach. See you this weekend.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care. Hey, Phoenix, I'm loving that you're back to being on the mat. You know what I mean? I remember you were trying to find a home the last we spoke. And you did. So
I did. I do mostly my stand-up with Plinio, but you know, listen, if I don't train, I lose my mind. I'm like a pedigree dog. If I don't get out and run or get out and exercise, I start ripping the house apart. I could just get cranky. So just to get in some training is like it's the thing that levels me out.
Yeah, listen, I need my training. Like I said, I literally walked in the door today, went right up to give my wife a kiss, my kids. came, because I saw my wife this morning. With my kids, I don't see them because I leave when they're sleeping, because I do that 7 a.m. class a few days a week. So I teach that. So I leave early. Because I like to get situated, And so, I leave and I do that. And on Mondays, a lot of times I stick around and I do that noon class also. I feel almost like I'm going back in time 20 years when I owned my first school, when I would be living at the school where I'd wake up, teach, because in between the first and second class, a lot of times, Phoenix, I take a nice little nap. I got a little thing that is up there. So it's like, I don't know, it's kind of reminiscent of when I'm a kid. You know what I mean? Not a kid compared to now. So, and it's, dude, you know why? Because it's just so much fun. I just have a good time.
And you like lived in your first gym too, didn't you?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. I remember you telling me that.
Yeah. I opened it up. I was between apartments. So I'm like, you know what? While I'm looking, let me just have a place for a couple of months. That couple of months ended up being a couple of years. But hey, man, it's all part of the journey. Soon we're going to be having Joe Pyfer on. Now, Joe Pyfer's
crazy, interesting life and athlete, and just like killer instincts. One of the nastiest left hooks you'll see in the business. He is a real talent.
I mean, now, does he have a family now? Is he married?
I don't know his situation. I know that like he comes from an extremely crazy broken home. He had a documentary that's recently coming out. He's a fascinating character. He's very open about his childhood struggles. Doesn't necessarily want to be a role model per se. Like he talks about that quite a bit, but I mean, you are when you came from absolutely nothing and then you wound up being a guy that Dana White says, if you want to get in the UFC, act like Joe Pyfer. Like that's like a quote that he has now because he said that on the Contender Series. So he's definitely like one of those people that, you look at that literally had nothing, was homeless, like similar to Francis Ngannou, had absolutely nothing and like is just fighting, is rising him to the absolute top.
He was down and out, you're saying?
He was like homeless. He, he had like super childhood troubles. A coach took him in. There's a documentary coming out all about this. Like he was like
on him. He's got his own documentary coming out.
Yeah. He was physically abused by his parents. Like it's a like really crazy story.
Well, listen, Joe Pyfer is 3-0 in the UFC, and so far, all 3 is by finishes. Okay? 2 knockouts and a submission. So. Shit, he's well-rounded. He's in the waiting room. Let's bring in Joe Pyfer. Let's get to know Joe Pyfer. And then me and you are going to catch up after about what the heck you're into lately, what you're watching. Did you ever watch Dune?
Yes, I did.
Did you like it?
I thought it was really loud. I know that sounds like I'm 86 years old, but it was very loud. There's a great fight scene in it. There's a great collie scene in it I liked.
Hold on. Did I just pronounce his name wrong? Tell me before you get it on. I don't want to embarrass myself.
Pyfer. Like pie in the sky.
Pyfer. I thought I said Pyfer. And do you hear us, Pyfer?
I can hear you. I didn't hear what you said. I didn't hear what you said though.
Yeah, dude, because he puts it in like big print. Pyfer. I go, fuck, man, it's my accent. I thought I said that. Joe, nice to meet you, bro.
Nice to meet you, Matt.
Now, this is Phoenix Carnevale, my co-host.
What's up, Joe?
In case you thought Jimmy.
Did you interview me one time for CES?
Probably. Yes, I did.
Yeah. It would have been my second pro fight. I feel like I remember your face.
Yeah. Yeah, you're a badass. Nasty, beautiful left hook, by the way.
Thank you.
Dude, hey, Joe, things are going great for you, man. Listen, 3-0 in the UFC is not easy. I mean, you didn't seem like you had that UFC jitters. I mean, all finishes, 2 by KO, TKO, and the other one by the last one by submission, which was just beautifully brutal. I mean, I want to hear about your journey, dude. I've heard about you coming from a very, very, violent household. I mean, you could tell me better than, could you let me know a little bit about you, your background?
Yeah, man. I mean, so first and foremost, I started mixed martial arts. Primarily, jiu-jitsu was my foundation at 4.5 years old.
Oh, wow.
My dad was born in Kensington, Philadelphia, so he had always had like boxing ties to the city. always would go up there and train. Wound up meeting a guy named Steve Haig, who owned Fight Factory, which is where Eddie Alvarez started out of. But before that, he got that gym, we were all out of a school called Body Arts, and that's where Steve Haig was, my dad. Eddie Alvarez was 19 years old. I was like 5 years old. So that's where I started in my MMA experience, jiu-jitsu introduction. And when Eddie was like, I'm just going to try this shit. I'm a street fighter. Let me see if I like it. And then, his first fight, he got a knockout. So as my dad started to learn, I started to learn. Obviously, without an option to choose, I was forced into it. And, I'm not regretful of it whatsoever. But it was a very abusive way to learn with the way my dad was. And, all of us kids receiving brutal punishment from him physically, verbally. My mom was quite involved as well, but more or less on the verbal end. And I had a rough background, whatnot. I had to leave and run away from home. So I didn't kill him, he didn't kill me type of deal. And or I didn't, hurt myself. So I left home at 16 years old, and I never abandoned jiu-jitsu or MMA throughout this process and throughout all these years though.
Well, that's great, because you could have just put that in a connection with the abuse, with, this is like, you could have just been like, that could have just reminded you of your father. Like, you know what I mean? Because you got into you. What is it about the training that you enjoyed? Because it sounds like it was a rough learning environment. Like,
here, a couple of examples of just, I used to think I had a learning disability, because when you're told that, quite frankly, like, you're fucking retarded, you're this and blah, blah, blah. I mean, every single day, and I couldn't get a move, or I didn't get it fast enough. You get slapped, or if you go out and compete, like I used to do, if I won, I beat a tomato can were the words chosen. And then if I lost, I was representing his name terribly, and I was a disgrace, and I'll never be shit, but janitor, sweeping floors and cleaning toilet bowls. So, or, you get your ass whooped because you didn't listen. And how dare you disrespect me and embarrass me and all, it was always about his image. And, as I got older, it became this thing where, as I started to train with other people, or as I was homeschooled until 8th grade. As I started to see that this shit wasn't normal, and this is not how you're supposed to treat kids, especially ones that you say you love and whatnot. I understood the premise of what he was trying to do, harden me and build me to be, a fighter. But at the same time, he also tried to take that away from me and say that I was never going to fight under his household, and he'll never want me to fight. He wanted me to go to school. And it's like, with what foundation, brother? Like, we were homeschooled. You didn't teach us an ounce of homeschool. Like, so I was kind of one of those kids that was left emotionally to figure out emotions, and, got beat in the process, and getting kicked, stomped, and beat up most of your life makes it very difficult to learn things in a receptive way. But I don't remember what the question was, but I started out very dysfunctional.
No, I got you. I'm sorry, Phoenix. Was there any influences that stepped in that were positive for you? Because it seemed you got your shit together, Joe. So, what helped you get there?
Yeah, the positive role model was just being in the gym and looking forward to seeing adults. I didn't click with kids. So when I was in 8th grade and I finally went to high school and got out of middle school and went over to high school, like, I was the oddball out. Like, I didn't socialize normally. I was a fucking weird kid, and that's just basically the way that I could say it is weird, and weird in a way that I didn't understand. I was so intense as a child, like, talking about fighting people and this, I'm going to be a fighter, I'm going to be in the UFC, and like, kids didn't understand that. And they didn't, I feel like I was ahead of it because of what I was going through. I was ahead of, goal achievements wise, like, I knew my direction. I wanted to fight. I'd already made it up in my mind. It was a dream. It was a love. And I guess I basically built my emotional stability and confidence through being accepted at a gym. Because even though my dad was abusive, when I would go to the gym, they were all receptive of me. I was the youngest kid in there scrapping with grown men at 13 years old, heel hooking dudes, like legitimately heel hooking purple belts and brown belts that were, like 160, 170. Couldn't do it to the other guys, but as a 13-year-old, like, I was a strong dude. So going to the gym was my positive role model, and obviously people like Sam Morpizza, who I just had in my corner recently. He gave me a big portion of his time. When he was coming up, he was 13-3, I believe, professionally, fought in Bellator, didn't continue his career, but Eddie Alvarez was always a great role model. Very, very active in my life. So,
can I ask you about Eddie Alvarez? And this is gonna be crazy, Joe. You were there for Eddie's first fight.
I was not there, but I was around. My dad was there. I was.
Okay. No,
I was too young.
Thinking it was in Jersey, and I think it was at some kind of sportsplex that they had fights, and then you go through another area, and it's like
it was a ring cage.
Yeah, a ring cage, and it was in like a place where it's not a Chuck E. Cheese, but there's like rides and shit. Do you know?
It was kind of like a gymnasium almost.
Yes. Hey, how about this, guys? Funny story, Joe. Small world. We had this guy on our team. We called him Guido. I'm not going to tell you his real name. We called him Guido. Typical Long Island guy. Not this kind of Long Island guy. Not a guy you'd like to have a beer with. More of that tough guy, you know? A guy, I always said, if I don't train with me now, but I'm like, yo, if I met this guy under any other circumstances, I'd want to smack him, okay? So he's that typical Long Island tough guy. He wanted to fight. How about this? All right, we'll get a guy with no fights also. Dude, it was fucking Eddie Alvarez. So we get this Long Island kind of want to be tough guy. He fights Eddie Alvarez. Dude, and listen, to Guido's point, he wasn't a pussy, but it's Eddie Alvarez. At the time, we didn't know what he gave Eddie, like, I think one punch. Then it was then he awoken a beast that's still murdering people. So yeah, that's so funny. So I'm like, holy crap, there's a chance you could have been there. But this was literally 20 plus years ago. 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Literally. Crazy.
Long time.
Talk about like emotional intelligence and positivity. I interviewed Eddie like a couple of years ago, and he told me like he journals, like he writes letters to himself, like positive letters to himself to like make himself feel better. I was like, that's fascinating. It's so interesting.
He was one of the people in my life that told me to have a goal board, a vision board. You know, write down that number you want on a check. Write down the goals. It doesn't have to be a huge goal or years in the making type goal, but write the goals down and have a new vision board. And once that board's done, erase that and then start another one. To your point, though.
Yeah, and it's funny because I always say this. I kind of feel bad for guys because we've been in this society where you have to be like super tough, and then if you are soft, then you're like super soft. But guys like you and Eddie have found that middle ground where you have this level of emotional intelligence where you're like very self-aware. And I think I was so impressed with you, Joe, because you had this quote that says, "Anger doesn't work as motivation." Can you explain what that means and how that helps you as a fighter?
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of my most important lessons because it was when I lost my first legitimate professional fight, and I lost to Jonathan Potty, a guy who I still talk to today, and not to disrespect his record, but he hasn't had the best trajectory for his career. And I was dominating the fight and everything, but it was one of those things where I knew I wasn't mentally. I've always struggled with like suicide and like health, just health. Mental health things. And, I was particularly struggling in this fight, and no excuse, he beat me, but I used to fight out of anger because I always wanted to prove my dad wrong, like telling me I'd be a janitor, sweeping floors, or, a lot of other negative things that I don't need to say. But, it was something that I was like, I'm going to show him. So I used to go out there, and you watch my early fights, I used to just bring it to dudes. And I mean like anger punch, just like almost Eddie Alvarez style. Like I used to just run out there, boom, 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 boom. And I'd get the wins. But at a certain level that starts to die down, you can't approach skilled men with that type of aggression. You'll get caught yourself. So that fight, I went out there and for the first time I wasn't angry. And I had no idea what I was fighting for. When that emotion wasn't there, I was like, oh shit, I'm lost. And it's not that deep. Like anger isn't that deep. So that's why that's why I said that, because I don't think anger is everlasting. It's only a phase. It's only in a moment. It's only when you think about it. It's not the real reason. And if you are angry, it's because you're hurt. It's not because you're angry. You're actually hurt and you don't know how to deal with it. So that's what you act on. So, I changed my perspective. I forgave my parents. I forgave my dad, especially because, he was the most damaging. And I figured out why I was fighting and who I am as a person and how strong I am and how weak I am at the same time. And letting go of anger can really humble you and show you how frail you actually are.
Joe, that's really, I'm telling you, very insightful. Now, Joe, you're 27 years old.
Just turn.
Yeah, you're single, married.
I've been dating a girl for 4 years.
Now, this is what I'm gonna say, just based on just our conversation right here. I could tell. Not only do you got your shit together, just you're very insightful from all the shit you've been through. A lot of people that been through something that you've been through, they'll take one of two paths. They either repeat the cycle of abuse or they break off and they go, look, I could tell, Joe, if you have a family one day, you're definitely not going to be like that. I could tell you're going to be the exact opposite, even more so. So there's people, what is it? What is it that makes you, listen, you did the right thing and you had everything up against you where it's easier to do the wrong thing. And you could blame the way you were treated to treat people that way. But you seem like a really good guy. So what is it? What is it that made you choose the right path?
I don't know what defines a good human being, but what defines a good human being to me, first and foremost, to that question is I would like to say I'm a good guy, and I think I'm a good guy because I don't vandalize people's shit. I don't steal. I don't go out of my way to hurt somebody else and make them feel like they're not good or not a good human being. Like I don't go out of my way to destroy someone else's life. And I think that's what a good person is. I give back. I help my teammates. I help my friends. I'm a very loving and I'm a very sensitive person. But I also can differentiate who I should give emotion to. Like if somebody that I'm fighting says some shit about me, I really don't care. I will get angry and I'll talk shit. Like I don't like the person I'm fighting anyway, so I'll engage in that. But the true effect behind their words mean nothing to me. So sorry, I have my heat stopped working in my house, so I actually have somebody checking this thermostat.
Yeah, let him in. Let him in. We'll talk.
One second. Hey, what's up? You can do whatever you need on an interview. I'm sorry. So you can do whatever.
You're now on UFC Unfiltered there, heater guy.
Thermostat doesn't turn on or work at all. Sorry, guys. I can differentiate, what actually matters. But I think I realized throughout my childhood, my dad always had an excuse of blaming his father because all past generations have kind of amounted to nothing as far as college, education, career. I mean, I know my grandfather did well, and he always worked hard, but my dad was kind of the opposite. He always was putting the blame on somebody as to why he went through this or why this happened or his back surgery or this and that. And he had an excuse for why he was always failing. And I'm not going to allow myself that, sometimes the harsh reality is just sometimes you fucking lose and, you can do everything right, but that sometimes it's whatever. And I'm also a religious person, I'm a Christian and, whatever God has in store for me is what I have to face. And if that's a loss, as much as I don't want to accept it, I know I'm strong enough to face it and come back. So I just think I learned this from not wanting to be like my dad and despising who he is as a person for the amount of excuses he's provided to be a shit human being.
It's interesting. Like, I heard that you had a documentary coming out.
Yeah.
And I've been searching for it. Where can I find it? When is it coming out? Like, what are the details about this?
Yeah. So my management group is Vayner Sports. And I have an investment group that I signed with, which is called Disruptive Sports Group. And it's headed by Alex Davis, who is a very successful businessman, very, very, very successful. And, he's got the connections to take this documentary to the next level. And currently we have a pending deal going on that I'm super excited about. And that's why it hasn't been released yet because Hollywood strike and, timing of things and legal, I guess, agreements and just trying to make sure that everything is in my favor and makes sense. And,
Smart.
Currently we have something on the table. We have a few options on the table. I think we're kind of narrowing it down. And I'm super excited for it to be released. Nothing is signed, pen to paper yet, but I'm very hopeful that in the next couple of weeks that will be no longer the case.
Okay, but definitely let us know. Let us know. I would love stuff like that.
Yeah, you'll probably put that all over your social media and stuff when it is coming. Awesome.
It's going to be a huge deal. Listen, it's not going to be a huge deal just because it's releasing, but it's going to be a huge deal because of how many people I think will meet through whatever network that we choose to go with. And, obviously it'll be life-changing financially for me as well, where I can really you only get to sell your story once type of deal. And I want my story not to be a sympathy card, but a relatability. This is very common what I've gone through. It's very, unfortunately, it's very common, and it's very beatable. And that's what I want. That's why I scream the things that I scream. Sometimes it's corny and, emotions take over. And sometimes I don't know why I say what I say, but, the message behind it is just to be an inspiration to break the cycle.
Well, this will make Matt happy because you do come out to the Rocky music.
Wonderful. Thank you.
What is that? What is that, Phoenix?
He walks out. I don't know if you've done it recently, but don't you walk out to the Rocky music, being it that you're from Philly and everything?
Yeah. So honestly, Rocky IV was one of my favorite movies growing up. I love the uphill climb story of Rocky going against and avenging pretty much his friend's death, and against another country. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I always liked when he was reflecting on life. It was when I'm a big car guy. So, he's driving an old school Lamborghini. And,
the montage.
Yep, he's driving through the tunnel. He's just, going through how Apollo Creed died and whatnot. And that song, The Easy Way Out, was the song that I walked out to for Miami. I change it every time. But this time I came out to Donald Trump by Mac Miller, just, R.I.P. Mac, and, the election. Let's go.
Okay, so I have to ask you this question since you're a car enthusiast, right? What is your fantasy, 100% dream car that, once you win a title, is the car you're going to get? What's the fantasy?
That's the brand new Dodge Viper ACR with the big wing, yellow and black stripe. One of my dream cars, one of my favorites. Can't wait to have it. Can't wait to get it. I'm also promised it. Alex Davis, I'm going to say it because he said, when I win a belt, he'll buy me one. So, I really want to win the belt just because fuck the belt. I want the car. I'm a car guy. I want a garage. I want to buy a house too, So that's what I'm hoping to do soon. I want to buy a house. I want to have a garage, and that's like my therapy. Put on some tunes, work with my hands, and enjoy the shit that I love outside of fighting as well.
So great. Hey, listen, before we let you go, Joe, tell us, you're so exciting. 3-0 in the UFC, all finishes. Give us a name. We want to see you fight again, man. Entertaining as heck. Tell me, who are we looking for, brother?
So he's already fighting, and I'm actually going to be cornering this man, Brendan Allen.
Oh, yes.
Against Paul Craig.
That's right.
Yeah, I really do want to fight Paul Craig. There's something about him. I just don't fucking like his face. I don't know what it is. I'm one of them guys that's I am judgmental, and I don't like the whole painting your face, going forehead to forehead with people. I don't like that shit. Don't touch me or I'm gonna headbutt the shit out of you. So I don't know. I don't like him. I think he's a shitty fighter. And he's got good jiu-jitsu, don't get me wrong. So I shouldn't say shitty fighter. I do respect him as much as I don't like him. I respect him. He's tough. But I think he's, and I mean this, I don't mean it respectfully. It is what it is. Gerald Meerschaert to me is a shit fighter. And I said that beforehand. I said it after, he's a good
put
dude.
Him out. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good dude, but I always said he's the best, worst middleweight. And I think Paul Craig is kind of a step up from that because he's bigger, but he's also the best, worst middleweight. So, and he's got a ranking, you know what I mean? So I do think Brendan Allen's going to walk over him, and I want to be there, and I kind of want the beef, you know what I mean? I want the problems with him. And I think it's a good fight for me. He's a big dude. He's got a big name, and let me get some of that name. Let me get some of that hype. But, and if not him, Andre Muniz, and if not him, we'll see how Rodolfo Vieira does. I'd love to fight him too.
Dude,
what about Bo Nickel?
I don't think they're going to give me him. But make no mistake, I am not some punk fucking middleweight that can't wrestle. So bring that shit, motherfucker. I'll sleep your ass. I'm not one of these guys that you're going to intimidate, do the stare down shit or, oh, you're an NCAA. This is MMA, and I know MMA. I know it better than anybody else. So.
You were battling a ton of injuries and stuff like that too. So how have you been feeling, and when do you predict will be a get back in there date?
Yeah, so this is why I'm excited for the Paul Craig and the Rodolfo Vieira fight, because I'm going to fight next year. I'm not fighting this year. I don't care what anybody says. I know my body. I know my health. Dana White and Hunter Campbell said that they were going to, get stem cells for me. So I'm waiting on that currently. I do need it. I had a slap tear in my labrum. I want to make sure that that's healed up. I also think I fractured my hand during the last camp. I had staph. I had infection. So my body was through a lot. I had staph 2 weeks in 2 spots. I had it on my forearm and on my bicep 2 weeks before I fought a goal. And I was on antibiotics and whatnot. So I was in bad shape leading into this fight, even mentally. So yeah, I'm going to I did my job. I did my job. I'm 27. I won a bonus, and I'm gonna relax a little bit. I wanna enjoy the holiday for once, and I don't need to rush my career. I'm in a good spot. I know that that's not what a lot of people like. They want you to be active, but I'm a bigger body. I can't cut the weight that fast, and I think I'm more injury prone when I turn around too fast.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
that's very
say,
true.
hey man, what
Hey,
you're
Dennis Bazookia coming up too, baby. I love that kid.
Oh, a bazooka?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I was just with them last night over at
Yeah.
Law MMA. You got Dennis Bazooka. We have Nazim fighting Nas, and also Matt Steamroller. So MSG is gonna be fucking insane.
Yeah, I was gonna be there, but I'll be out in Arizona, unfortunately. But I was happy. I wanted to see Dennis fight, man. I've always been pulling for him since I won my contract.
Oh, that's so great, man. He's such a good kid. He's a good kid, and he never cut any corners. He was in class, just did his time, and never tried to
Rush
cut it. Yeah, just showed up. He would drive to Staten Island to Long Island, and I'm so happy for his success. And Joe, I'm very happy for your hold on, I'm stuttering. I'm very happy for your success, and you've been through a lot, but you really seem like a great guy. You're a fantastic fighter, and please come back on again with us, man. This was great, Joe.
Yeah, allow me on whenever, man. I don't like these guys that are all fucking, I'm too busy. Like, this is my life. I don't do anything else. If I'm not doing this, I'm fucking playing video games or lifting weights and working on cars.
Wait. 1 second, please. What video games?
Call of Duty, baby. Warzone, dog.
I love it. Listen, if you get a chance, you get another bonus, whatever it is, get the fucking VR, the Oculus Quest 2. I live in that goddamn thing. Population 1. And I just got a game last night. Sorry?
What are you playing on that?
It's the Oculus Quest 2, even though I'm going to get the new one. Is it called that? Yeah, it's the portable one. Oculus Quest. And I bring it when I travel, dude. I'm a nerd. I talked about it when I was on Rogan.
Yeah.
I play Population 1. It's a shooter. You get in the squads, and it's fucking so fun. I was playing last night with Kevin Casey. He's a jiu-jitsu guy. You know Kevin. But anyway, so much fun. But listen, we're going to save all this geek shit for the next time. But yeah, I love the video games. Joe Pyfer, man, congrats on everything, dude.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks, Matt.
All right. We'll talk
Great
again.
seeing you, Joe.
Nice
Take care,
seeing you.
Joe.
Thank
you.
Peace.
Hey, man, listen. Guess what? That guy's gonna do all right for himself.
Oh, hell yeah. I have such emotional intelligence and just like the freedom to talk about it that shows a lot.
That reminds me of Paul Craig. Freedom!
But that Brendan Allen versus Paul Craig fight is coming up. That is November 18th at the Apex. It's a middleweight fight. And it's cool because I love Brendan Allen. He was in the LFA. He was an LFA champion. Paul Craig, moved to middleweight in July, I think, and it paid off for him. Who did he beat? Oh, it was Munoz. He actually TKO'd Munoz. So that's a fun fight. I don't know. That's one that I'm looking forward to.
Listen,
see what happens.
I'll tell you, what a fun show. What have you been up to, Phoenix? Tell me what you've been up to.
I was working on those voiceovers for the pop culture inspiration for this product called Hatch, which is like the sleep device, like when you can't sleep at night and you wake up in the morning, you want some inspiration, you click on my channel and I'm like, what can you learn from Batman? What can you learn from Ferris Bueller's Day Off? So I just finished 30 voiceovers about all things pop culture. And that was fun.
I've heard a few and I like them a lot. You send them to me and I enjoy them. Now, where could somebody listen? I want somebody to be able to get that and listen to your work. Where could they listen to that?
Well, they're on the Hatch. So if you buy the Hatch too, it's on that. But eventually maybe we'll throw them up on a podcast or something like that. So you just got to follow me on social media for all your pop culture, MMA, and nerdy shit. That's what I'm here for.
What is your social media?
It's just my first and last name. That's it.
Phoenix Carnevale.
Phoenix Carnevale. Yep.
That's so great. All right, Phoenix. I'm waiting for you to still visit me, and
I know I've got to make that happen.
My wife's got she's training like a beast. My girls, my 3 daughters, my 14-year-old's competing a lot. It's fun. The other day, my 14-year-old did 3 hours of wrestling.
So I got to ask you a question. How has your relationship changed? Like, since Ann started training and like now you guys can vibe on jiu-jitsu and kickboxing and all that stuff.
It's funny you said that, because when I started dating my wife, she was 100% Adrian. Now she's more like Lagatha from Vikings. She's fucking so you know, it's you know, you either grow together or you grow apart. And the fact that my wife's interests are all combat sport related does not hurt our relationship at all. It actually helps it. Where now that I told the story before, she never even did a sport in high school, but she started doing kickboxing to lose weight between our three daughters. Next thing you know, she's taking a fight. Now she's 3-0 as an amateur kickboxer. And she's 40 now and she's still actually competing, and she might even take a one MMA fight. Who knows? She's thinking about it. So, now she's a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, and she really started to really go deep into jiu-jitsu, starting with the women's class now and then going into the co-ed class. And me and her now could roll for like sometimes 45 minutes to an hour at a clip. With jiu-jitsu, if a person knows us by the time they're blue belt and they know, they don't have to have all the answers, but they have an answer for you take their back. They know how to get out at least one or two ways. You mount them. They have several ways out. You get cross-eyed. They get on top. So if they know these different way escapes, only so many ways to hold somebody in, then you could flow roll with them. You can get them in bad positions. They escape. They attack you. You get out. So we trained for a long time. So now she's jumping in jiu-jitsu competitions and she's doing well. So it's fun, dude. So I'll tell you, Phoenix, to answer your question, it just strengthens the relationship. Why? Because as she gets older, now she's, we're both a little bit older. Like she could have got into Zumba. I'm not shitting on it, but then I'm at my academy and she's got to be over at the Zumba, or I'm at the academy, she's into Pilates. No, she's at my school. If I'm here, she's either doing the kickboxing or jiu-jitsu. So it's a positive thing.
Yeah, I just think it's cool that if you have to watch a fight for work, she'll sit there and be like, "Oh, I really liked how he got out of that submission," or "Oh, watch his transition." Like it gives you something to vibe on.
That's great, and that's fantastic. But even more so, what I do, like I said earlier, is all I do is go. I'm a hermit, man. I don't go nowhere to Phoenix. I went to Comic-Con. That was fun. I can tell you that. That was a blast. But I go to my house and I go to my school. My school's it's just people I like. If I don't like somebody, I get them right the fuck out of there. So I teach good people to be dangerous. And my fact that, I make it such a good time there with good vibes, and the fact that my family hangs out there all the time, it's just a positive thing. Where was I going with that?
That was it.
You
get to see your family more because you never leave the house or go to the gym.
That is it. What are you watching? Anything new on Netflix or Prime?
I'm kind of disappointed with Loki. I'm like, what the F is going on? I'm so confused.
I didn't even get into it because a lot of my kids weren't into the last one.
I loved the first season. I'm wearing a Loki shirt right now.
It is cool. No, I liked it too. I gotta get back into that. But I recommend for the holiday season, people watch Hoobie Halloween with Adam Sandler. If you like any of his work, especially his earlier work,
I love him.
You will love it. It's just goofy and fun. And rest in peace, Ray Liotta. Also, what was I going to say? I went back into a sci-fi show called The Expanse, and
I haven't seen it.
We had Wesley Chatham on, and Wesley Chatham, he's in The Expanse. He plays Amos, who's like my favorite character, who's a borderline psychopath who makes the right decisions. That shows. I'll tell you right now, there's some like politics in it and stuff with Mars and yada yada, but the action in it and the character work, the characters in it, it's fun.
Well, here's my bucket list for you and UFC Unfiltered. Okay. I've been on the show maybe 15 times now, and I want one thing.
Yes.
Scott Adkins.
Sorry?
Scott Adkins. He's a well-known martial artist and stunt guy. He was in Doctor Strange. He was in The Last John Wick. He's a god in martial arts and film and TV. And we would totally nerd out with him, Matt. So we need to get Scott Adkins on the show. He also has a podcast called The Art of Action, where he interviews all the old school martial arts guys. And
give your friend a plug. Give your friend a plug. I think I'm going to like this too. What is Scott Adkins' podcast?
it's called The Art of Action, and he interviews everybody, Keanu Reeves, like all of these great stunt coordinators and stunt guys and famous actors and martial artists.
You're saying he interviews Keanu Reeves?
Yeah, because he's in John Wick. He plays the fat guy in John Wick. He's not a fat guy. He's a hot British guy, but he plays the fat guy in the movie.
Listen,
and, I love him.
Once you told me that he interviewed Keanu Reeves, you could tell him that I am available. Anyway, listen, Phoenix, thank you so much. What a fun time. Please come back again. You don't have to wait for Jimmy Bird to be out spreading his comedy. You can come back anytime you want. We miss you up around here. And come visit me in Long Island soon at Serra BJJ.
I will. See you guys later.
All right. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Unfiltered out. I will never say that again.
I like it.
Thank you, buddy.